What if engineers' primaries were inverted negative weapons ideas? And with that, welcome, gentlemen, to the negative weapons video. You've been waiting for it. I don't know why, but you have been. So, first weapon for engineers' arsenal would be the urban crime, which is the negative of the frontier justice. And upon building a sentry, you will gain 2 oppression crits for every kill and 1 for every assist you get on any weapon without an active sentry. Oppression crits are not lost on death, because usually the revenge crits you would gain from the frontier justice would be lost on death. And you would get plus 60% clip size, so 12 shots loaded at any given time. And it has random critical hits. So in a nutshell, this would be the most overpowered gun in Team Fortress 2. My god. Because it doesn't matter what kind of crit, a crit is still a crit. Next, we got the Marriage Officiant instead of the Widowmaker, which returns damage dealt as health, which already is super overpowered. However, it also does minus 30 health on every shot, so you would need to hit a lot of your shots with a lot of damage in order to even stay neutral or heal up. Reloading is necessary, whatever that means. Probably just normal clip size then. And you get minus 10% decreased damage to your sentry's target, which is a minor inconvenience at most. So this would just be the Blutsauger in a nutshell. But for engineer. The Nosmop 6000 instead of the Pobson 6000 does 80% more damage to buildings. On hit on friendly medics, it adds 10% to their Ubercharge meter. That would be quite overpowered. On hit friendly spies adds 20% to cloak meter. Well, that's useless. It does require ammo, and projectiles can be reflected. I mean, seems like a gimmick, like a medic engineer combo gimmick of sorts. Because the 80% to buildings, when does engineer ever shoot at enemy sentries? Like, never. But this would be a totally different gun, and I think it might kind of work. Actually, not really. 6 shots and you have 60% of an Uber. That's overpowered. The Endanger Ranger instead of the Rescue Ranger. Instead of being able to pick up your sentry gun, this uses 100 metal to fire a remote sapper at an enemy building from long range. It has plus 34% clip size, plus 50% maximum ammo pool, plus 35% damage resistance while hauling buildings and for 1 second afterwards, okay? So instead of marked for death, you get a bonus. And primary fire does not heal friendly buildings, which is the most stupid and useless stat ever. My verdict, kind of overpowered. The Send Defense, instead of the Panic Attack, it fires a narrow random shot pattern instead of a wide random shot pattern. It has plus 20% damage bonus, which is very strong. Successive shots become more accurate, which is just strange. But it also gets minus 50% bullets per shot and minus 50% deploy speed. I don't know what to think about this one. Seems kind of bad if I'm honest. Next on our primary weapons, we have the Romanov instead of the Natasha. So the inverted stats for this weapon would be on hit enemy, increase your move speed, which, you know, that's pretty good. Plus 25% damage bonus, really good. Plus 30% faster spin up time, really, really good. However, 20% damage vulnerability while below 50% health and spun up. I think this would be one of the strongest heavy miniguns as it stands here. Really, really overpowered. The Wooden Wimp now. How would the brass piece change with inverted stats? This is going to be interesting. 50% faster spin-up time. 60% faster move speed while spun up. That's really good. That's really, really good. 20% damage penalty. Doesn't really matter. With 60% speed boost. That doesn't matter. 20% damage vulnerability while below 50% health and spun up. Yeah, so this would be even stronger. This would be the strongest heavy minigun by far. Jesus. The inverted Tomislav, the Tommy Brit, 20% faster firing speed. I mean, sure. Minus 20% slower spin-up time, really bad. 20% less accurate, really, really bad. And barrel spin sound is extremely loud. Every bullet that hits an enemy is announced in the kill feed. This would be just stupid. It's nerfed. It's nerfed so hard. And the last of Heavy's primaries, the Hue Short air conditioner, the inverted version of the Hulong heater, creates a ring of cool air while spun up, extinguishing nearby burning teammates. An interesting gimmick for sure. Plus 10% damage bonus. Okay. Plus 25% extra damage bonus versus non-burning players. So any pyro on your team would just be sabotaging you. And consumes 4 less ammo ammo per second while firing. I think we got another really good weapon on our hands here. This is just only positives. A straight upgrade from the minigun. Dear God. The next primaries are for soldier. So here we have the indirect miss, which is the inverted version of the direct hit. The stats for such a weapon would be mini crits, grounded targets. So you can just be good against this by jumping. You get plus 70% explosion radius. So every shot is just a nuke in a nutshell. Minus 25% damage penalty, so it does less damage at least. And minus 80% projectile speed. So you have really slow, really weak, but really large blast radius projectiles from this thing. I think gimmick weapon. Not strong, not OP, but funny. Next we got a white barrel, a negative black box. This would just have 25% clip size, but on hit you lose 20 health. So, I don't know if that would be good. I think not. I think that's just a downgrade from the default rocket launcher. Because you don't really need that one extra shot. And 20 health per shot, if you just shoot 5 times and hit a bunch of people, you're just dead probably. The rocket lander. This would be an inverted version of the rocket jumper. So this has 100% damage bonus, which I think means it does 200% damage. But I'm not sure, it might just do normal damage. Has random critical hit. Where a can carry intelligence briefcase and pastime jack. However, minus 200% max primary ammo on wearer and deals self-inflicted damage. This is just silly. This is a silly weapon. And also it's OP if it does 200% damage. Unless I'm reading that wrong, it's a bit too strong. The Tyranny launcher. This is the inverted Liberty launcher. This weapon would deal 25% damage bonus. However, it does 25% extra self damage from rocket jumps, has minus 40% projectile speed, and minus 25% clip size. I think is another pretty silly one, just because of the slow rockets. This would be so hard to properly use. And also, I really like playing soldier because of the rocket jumps, so I would hate this personally. The Cow Vegetarian 5000. Here we have a negative Cow Mangler 5000. It does 80% bonus damage to buildings, so it's just this would just be the direct hit of the inverted weapons. Crits whenever it would normally mini crit. I mean, that's pretty strong. Has random critical hits. That's good. It does require ammo. I guess that's bad. It doesn't really matter though. Alt fire, a mini shot that only uses half as much ammo. I don't even know how that would work. Mini shots can extinguish burning teammates and remove enemy sappers. Mini shots deal 35% less damage to enemy players. This thing would be so gimmicky and I think very overpowered. I think so. I think this would be a bit too strong. The Nobleman's Bazooka. Fire to unleash 3 rockets at once. Requires all 3 rockets in the chamber before it can be fired. Okay, that's an interesting change. This is the inverted version of the Beggar's Bazooka, if you hadn't realized. 20% explosion radius. No random projectile deviation. So it's just very accurate, I suppose. Chamber starts full and reloads like a regular rocket launcher. Receives ammo from dispensers while active. Well, that's pretty strong, isn't it? But you need to load all rockets before being able to fire it. Another cool weapon, actually. This is actually pretty awesome. A bit too strong, isn't it? It's like you just reload 4 rockets, go to the front line, shoot all 4 of them. No, it requires 3 rockets. Never mind. So you load 3 rockets, go to front line, shoot them all at one target very accurately. And then just retreat and reload 3 rockets again. I don't know, it seems kind of strong. So this is the ground block, the inverted version of the airstrike. This boasts 15% damage bonus, plus 10% explosion radius, plus 20% extra explosion radius while rocket jumping. So a bunch of mediocre bonuses, if I'm honest. It also has minus 65% firing speed while rocket jumping, which is kind of... Does that even matter? I think not. Do you ever fire more than 1 rocket while airborne with the normal rocket launcher? I think rarely, if ever. Plus 15% extra self-damage from rocket jumps. That kind of sucks. And the clip size decreases on kills. Well, so this one's just useless. This one's terrible. Alright. What if medics, primaries, and secondaries were inverted? These are the primaries and secondaries for medic, because I couldn't find only primaries. We're continuing on the blood spender. the Blutspender, which is the inverted Blutsauger. It has +2 health regenerated per second on wearer. However, you also lose up to 3 health on hit. So this kind of sucks, to be honest. But if you never use it, you just have increased regeneration. So you trade your primary weapon for a passive buff, which is actually pretty decent. I think this kind of works. Instead of the Crusader's crossbow, we have Solchek's bow. The arrows of this thing hurt your teammates and heal your enemies. The arrows also deal more damage and healing the closer you are to your target. It crits on a headshot. And it has +75% max ammo pool. And it doesn't automatically reload while holstered. This thing sucks. This thing is terrible. Instead of the overdose, we got the withdrawal, the inverted version. While this weapon is active, you have +15% damage bonus. However, movement speed decreases based on undercharge percentage to a maximum of -20%. However, there is no undercharge in Team Fortress 2. So I guess that's just that doesn't matter, whatever this says. So you just have a stronger version of the default syringe gun. So this is just an upgrade to stock. They got the demi gun instead of the medi gun. Undercharge on teammate grants +99.999% damage bonus on all weapons. Yeah, this is just weird. Instead of the Kritzkrieg, you got the Trägerfrieden, which undercharges on teammates grant +66% damage resistance instead of crits, and -25% charge building rate. So it's just a worse medigun. Very good. Instead of the quick fix, you get the prolonged problem, the inverted version. If you undercharge an enemy, causes rapid health drain and increased vulnerability to movement impairing effects, +50% max overheal on teammates. So you drain enemies' health, which is actually a really interesting idea for a minigun. And it has a -50% heal rate, +10% charge buildup, at -10% charge buildup rate, and patience, blast jumping, or charging send you the opposite direction. Alright, we're moving on to the anti-vaxxer, which is the vaccinator inverted. Undercharging an enemy causes a vulnerability bubble that increases base damage by 75% and critical damage by 100% of selected damage type. I'm not sure if this means that the enemy is now more vulnerable or if they are like buffed. A +33% charge build rate on overheal teammates. I guess that's good. +66% overheal build rate. +300% undercharge duration. However, while healing teammates, you have a 10% vulnerability to selected damage type. I don't even know what to think of this one. To be honest with you, this is just confusing. I don't even get it. That was medic. We're moving on. Here are scouts primaries, if they were inverted. So instead of the force nature, you would get the inverted force mankind. Bold to assume that mankind is the opposite of nature. However, you get the stats, which are probably accurate. 10% damage bonus. That's pretty good. +66% clip size. That's insanely strong. Target and shooter are pulled towards each other. That's an interesting thing. Not sure if you want that, scout, but that's the stats. You have -50% firing speed, so that sucks. You got -20% bullets per shot. That sucks. This weapon reloads 1 shot at a time. This weapon is useless now. Okay. The outfield, the inverted version of the shortstop. When the weapon is active, decrease in push force taken from damage and air blast. That's kind of useful. Alt fire to reach out and pull someone in instead of the shove mechanic. Yippee. Holds an 8-shot clip. And this weapon reloads 1 shot at a time. I don't know what to think of this, to be honest with you. Seems like a decent gimmick gun, honestly. Instead of the soda popper, you get the inverted water popper. +66% clip size. That's good. -50% firing speed. So this weapon is already ruined. It also gets -25% reload speed, so it's ruined even more. And this weapon reloads 1 shot at a time. When hype meter is full, alt fire to activate a hype mode to remove mid-air jumps. Yeah, so the water popper, not really a good weapon, I think. The inverted version of the Babyface's blaster, the manly butts blaster. It gets +34% clip size. That's a good buff. +10% move speed on wearer. Really good on scout. On hit, builds boost, run speed decrease with boost. So the boost makes you slower. So hitting an enemy is bad for you. Boost reduced on mid-air jumps. Boost reduced when hit. So what you need to do with this is shoot someone and then double jump to get rid of the boost, which slows you down. Okay, what a good weapon. And the inverted version of the backscatter, the front scatterer. It mini-crits enemy players when fired at their front from close range. So this would be the new babyface blaster in a way, because if you blast their face, I don't know, whatever, you shoot people in the face, they take more damage. Plus 34% clip size, plus 20% accuracy, and it has random critical hits. Honestly, this is just an upgrade from stock. Probably the strongest new primary for Scout. Jesus Christ. Next up, we got the inverted version of primaries for Pyro. Starting off with the Flame Catcher, which is the inverted flamethrower. This thing on alt fire releases a blast of air that pulls enemies. Wow. It absorbs projectiles and extinguishes teammates that are on fire. Shouldn't it extinguish enemies that are on fire? Extinguishing teammates removes 20% health, so that sucks. Afterburn increases medigun healing and resist shield effects. So you buff enemies kind of with Afterburn. That's an interesting change. Here is the inverted version of the back burner. The front burner. It has 100% critical damage from the front. And it also, let's not forget, has minus 150% air blast cost. This is now the strongest thing in Team Fortress. This is way stronger than the default flamethrower. And it's just a really strong weapon in general. Oh my god. So here we have the Greaser. This is the inverted version of the Degreaser. This does plus 66% afterburn damage bonus. This would suck to play against. So much. It also has minus 25% air blast cost, so it's cheaper to use. Extinguishing teammates removes 20 health, which kind of sucks. It also has minus 30% holster speed and minus 60% deploy speed. So you just never switch off this thing. And it's just the afterburn of the Team Fortress 2 Pyro primaries. My god. The inverted version of the Phlogistinator is the Oxidizer, as it seems. This has air blast. It has random crits, 2 decent buffs. The Flog's biggest problem is it can't air blast, so that's just removed now. Alt fire. With this, you build oomph by taking damage, instead of dealing damage, as it is right now. Alt fire on full oomph taunts to receive minus 66% damage for several seconds. So taking damage gets you the oomph meter and activating it makes you weaker. Good. You just never activate it. You take critical damage from all sources while oomph taunting. Damage resist only goes into effect after taunt is finished. So I guess you deal less damage after oomph taunting, but you have damage resistance yourself. That's an interesting concept. And the last of Pyro's primaries, the inverted version of the Dragon's Fury, the Kraken's Bliss. This uses separate pressure tanks for primary and alt fire. I don't even know what that means. On primary fire, it launches a slow-moving projectile that causes an extended afterburn, instead of the fast-moving projectile we have now, which causes little to no afterburn. Alt fire releases a blast of air that pulls enemies, absorbs projectiles, and extinguishes burning teammates. And extinguishing teammates removes 20 health. Oh my god, it does 300% extra damage to non-burning players. And plus 50% repressurization rate on alt fire. You can just perma reflect pretty much. No, absorb. You're not reflecting anything, you're absorbing projectiles. Okay. Oh, and after you hit someone, it shoots really slowly. Alright, we still have a Spy and I think Demoman and Sniper to go through, so let's go through them real quick. The inverted version of the Ambassador, the Recipient. This gets a 15% damage bonus increase. It gets plus 20% faster firing speed, has random critical hits, crits on body shots, so be careful not to headshot anyone. Critical damage is affected by distance to target. Close range shots deal less damage. So the further you're away, the more damage you deal, and you best not aim at their heads. It also has 100% accuracy immediately after firing. It's just always accurate, I suppose. Random spread increases with time after firing. Okay, so I guess the first shot is very inaccurate and the rest are really, really accurate. What a stupid gun. Here is the inverted L'Étranger, the L'Ami. The French people among you will probably get that. I don't. It has a 20% damage increase, damage bonus. However, hitting someone with a shot reduces your cloak duration, and on-hit enemy minus 15% cloak. So you get a 20% damage bonus from this. However, your cloak duration is reduced by 40%, and hitting an enemy gets rid of 15% of your cloak. So this is just a really strong revolver that makes your cloak kind of useless. This is still OP. Instead of the Enforcer, you get the inverted Perpetrator. Plus 20% faster firing speed, really strong. It has random crits. Interesting stat. Minus 20% damage penalty while disguised. That's absolutely useless. Does not matter in the slightest. Because all shots after the first one are not affected. Shots are completely negated by damage resistance effects. Any enemy under damage resistance will not be damaged by this. It's still strong. I think this is a strong weapon. And the last one of Spy's primaries. The opposite of the diamond back. The pearl front. Why is pearl the opposite of diamond? Whatever. This gets plus 15% damage bonus, really good. Has random crits, also good. Building sapped and front stabs are stored during your life. Front stabs. Upon respawning after death, you will receive 1 crit for each of these points obtained on that life. Crits do not transfer across lives. This is confusing for me, but it's still stronger than stock revolver because it has random crits and you just get more damage. It just does more damage. So this is one of Spy's best weapons now, even though it's really confusing. Here we have Demo's primaries if they were inverted. So here's the inverted lock and load. The unlock and unload, which says launched bombs explode on impact with surfaces. So I guess in addition to players, also now with surfaces. That's only Demo Primary that does that. It also gets an increase of 25% explosion radius and also plus 25% clip size. So it's really OP so far. However, the projectile speed is slowed down by 25% and it does minus 20% damage versus buildings. Still seems like an upgrade from stock. This is really, really strong. Even though the pipes might be kind of easy to dodge. I don't know. I'd have to play with this. Maybe it's even fair. I have no clue. The inverted loose cannon, the tight catapult. Cannonballs are primed to explode instantly, dealing self-damage. So that's kind of bad. Fuses can be primed to explode later by holding down the fire key before releasing. Cannonballs do not explode on impact. Okay. Cannonballs pull players in on impact instead of knocking them away. Double donk. Bomb explosions after a cannonball impact will deal mini crits to any surrounding enemies that were not impacted by the ball. And it gets minus 20% projectile speed. This is just silly. This is a very silly weapon. It does damage to anyone who hasn't been hit. How stupid is that? The Golden Constructor. So this is the inverted version of the Iron Bomber. I like that they made it golden in here. So the stats for this thing. Plus 15% explosion radius. That's really good. Plus 30% fuse time. Grenades have lots of bounces and rolls. Seems kind of okay. A little bit goofy maybe, but this seems pretty okay compared to the other stuff we've seen on here. The inverted version of the Alibaba wee booties. For some reason they used a heavy melee here, but who cares? They're called Kasim's huge gauntlets. Because the opposite of the booties are gauntlets. Cool. So this gives the wearer minus 25% max health. So this sucks. Minus 10% slower move speed on the wearer with shield. It sucks even more. Minus 200% decrease in turning control while charging. It sucks even more. Melee kills reduce 25% of your charge meter. Okay, so the Alibaba wee booties are ruined by inverting them. Cool. Here we have the inverted version of the bootlegger, the gauntlet armor. Here are the stats. They're the same as the other weapon, the one I said earlier. They're ruined. This thing sucks. We're moving on. Oh, right. And the primary for demo is the base jumper. The inverted version of the base jumper would be the base lander. Press jump key in the air to deploy. Deploying parachute speeds up your descent. So you take more fall damage when using this. Cool, very cool. Here we go, we got Sniper. So here are Sniper's primaries if they were inverted. We're starting off with the Sydney Sleeper. The inverted version of this would be the Auckland Riser. I would have liked Auckland Awake Person, maybe. Actually, never mind, that sounds stupid. So this thing crits on headshot. What an interesting concept for a sniper rifle. It does have random critical hits. A sniper rifle that can random crit. That would be insane. Unscoped hit sets enemies on fire. This is so silly already. However, afterburn duration decreases with charge, so you only want a quick scope with this thing. It has minus 25% charge rate, so you don't need to quick scope, I guess, because the charging is pretty slow. Mankind's rejection. Scoped headshots increase char fight cooldown by 1 second. I don't know why it says char fight here instead of Jarate, but in a nutshell, I think it just, if you headshot someone with this while scoped, your Jarate is now recharging slower. That's it, yes. Instead of the Bazaar Bargain, you get the Supermarket Ripoff, the inverted version. This thing has plus 50% charge rate, that's really strong. However, each scoped headshot kill reduces charge rate by 25% to a maximum of minus 200%. So it's really good at the start, and with every headshot you get worse. So you want a body shot with this thing only. Instead of the Machina, you get the Organicum. That kind of works, okay, sure. Here are the stats for inverted Machina. Only fires while unscoped, so you can't scope with this. Hold primary fire to charge, release to fire. So this is just a classic. This is the classic instead, but you're not able to shoot while scoped at all. Bullets are invisible, inaudible, and leave no bullet holes on impact. And that's interesting for sure. On full charge, you do minus 15% damage, and it does not penetrate enemies. So this is now the new gimmick for Sniper. You sit somewhere silenced and just keep shooting enemies, which makes them angry, I guess. Seems like a fun gun. Instead of the Hitman's Heatmaker, you get the inverted Bodyguard's Cooler. It does plus 20% damage on body shot, which is pretty strong. Gain distraction on kills and assists. Not sure what that means. Press reload to activate distraction, reducing charge rate by 25% and preventing scoping. So you never activate that. Heads will remain intact. Okay, this thing sucks. And finally, the inverted version of the classic, the modern. It does plus 10% damage on body shots, which is pretty strong change. Does not crit on headshots when fully charged, so be careful, you gotta go for quick scopes with this thing, but you also must zoom in to charge like the stock sniper rifle. It seems like a decent gun, maybe. I don't know. Does not headshot when fully charged is a bit silly, but the rest seems funny. Alright, this concludes the primary versions for the inverted weapons for Team Fortress 2. I hope at least like 2,000 or 3,000 people saw this video. I've been asked so many times to do it. There you go. Maybe I'll do the other ones, but at least I made a video on it now, okay? Thank you for watching. Click the video center of your screen now to stay on the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. By the way, this video probably wasn't worth it for the channel, so if you liked it, maybe subscribe. Yes, please subscribe. See you in the next one, boys. That's it.